Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dave Harvey. We are Dynamic Minds. This is
Hardeep Singh.
And this is
Zach Forney.
Come on into the mic.
Zach Forney.
All right.
Perfect.
There's also some other members of our team that couldn't be here today, so we do want to give them full credit. And if you'd like to know who they are, we do have our report right here. If anyone wants to know, a little background before we begin. I just kind of want to tell you the story of how this kind of started. After a bunch of really exhaustive research. I mean, we did a lot of research on this project. We finished it up and got it all together. And then Hardeep and I are thinking, well, how do we do this? How do we present this? I mean, this is a project on innovation. We've got to be a little bit more cutting edge than just a PowerPoint with facts and statistics and data. So Hardeep says to me,
Let's do a story.
So we are going to tell a little story today. So I hope you guys are ready, brought your popcorn, got your sodas. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Joe. Joe is 23 years old. He just graduated from a very prestigious college, and he got his bachelor's degree in business. Joe is doing what every freshly graduated college student does upon leaving school, and that's searching for a job.
Now, Joe did very well in college. He earned good grades. He gained a lot of friends in life, too. So here's Joe setting out, looking for a job. And he's got several interviews lined up. His first interview is in Mount Pleasant for Gammy Creek Productions. He sits down with their chief editor, Ryan Them. The interview is going along well until Mr. Them starts talking about innovation. Joe knows somewhat what innovation is, but he can't elaborate when Ryan says, "Our company innovates by finding profitable ways to meet our clients' needs." Joe tries to fumble away through conversation on this topic because he has never really had any experience with innovation. Mr. Them sees right through it.
The next stop is on to Dr. John's Candies. Joe sits down with Ed Oliveira, who is CEO and partner of Dr. John's. And the interview is going fine until once again the topic of innovation comes up. Ed says, you have to be able to innovate to succeed and be able to innovate in different directions. Ed elaborates, here's another example of where we have actually been innovative in our company within packaging. He motions Joe towards the display and points out a sticker that's on one of the gift baskets. The sticker is informational about the company. It's got the website, things of that information. But he points out with the new packaging, the label is actually going to be printed right on the basket itself. When Ed asks Joe how much money that's going to cost, Joe replies he has no idea. Ed looks at Joe with kind of a sly grin and simply says, a lot. He mentions the fact that he doesn't have to use one of his employees to apply the sticker, as well as the printing of the sticker. Innovating is not always about the big stuff. It's not always about developing a new product line or service feature. Innovating sometimes is about the little stuff that makes day-to-day business cheaper and easier. At that point, Joe knows for a fact he is in over his head.
A little down, Joe actually knows. He goes on to his next interview. He knows a shortcut. He drives behind the Target store on 28th Street and turns onto a street named Innovation Court. Kid you not, seriously.
True story. Very true story. Right
Joe
now.
is already nervous just based on that observation. Joe passes GE Aviation Research and eventually pulls into a driveway. This time, Joe is sitting down with two women, Kathy Tabor, customer service supervisor, and then Linda Pitt, service center manager. Joe sits down with these two women. They started talking about the importance of communication within their company. Linda adds that that's where our company has been so innovative. We make sure that everyone is heard, and at the core, it's about making things easier for our employees. That's where the dreaded word came up again. Kathy asked Joe, we're looking for someone who is willing to take the risk to do something different. Linda adds, we don't want someone who is afraid to set the bar too high. The ladies ask, can that be you, Joe? Joe tries to say that he can, but he already knows he has lost. But
Joe, being a resourceful fellow, is not easily frustrated. He goes out to dinner with a friend. Friend's name is, he's frustrated right there, if you can't tell. Joe's friend's name is Brenna. He starts to tell her about his experiences and his frustrations. And Brenna has an idea, as a matter of fact. She remembers that when she was at Grand Rapids Community College, there was a project that she had to do on innovation. She pulls up the Inter site, and she recalls at the time that there were a few bugs and glitches with the usability, but remembers it being very beneficial for her. They open up the site and start searching around. Instantly, Joe is floored. It dawns on them the power of what he has yet to understand. Inspired, Joe continues to look around the site. He finds that INTER stands for Innovate Now Through Education and Retraining. INTER is a way of becoming a more innovative individual. The design of the site is a social website that contains modules and activities that allow the user to think differently, respond differently, and share differently. The site is divided into 4 main sections: Me, creative capacity and capability; Process, methodology and conversion; We, collaboration and connection; and Outcomes, adoption and impact. Joe, I'm sorry, that was his part here.
Joe also finds that the site has targeted its market towards 3 groups: teachers, students, and professionals. He also happened to stumble onto some videos from some projects that classes had done before. One was by a group that called themselves the Dynamic Minds.
Joe still wasn't sure what innovation was, though. He remembers the Dynamic Minds presentation mentioning a book by A.G. Lafley. Now, Joe knows who that is. He went to business school. A.G. Lafley is CEO of Procter & Gamble. So he bought the book. Joe found this quote: "Innovation must be the central driving force for any business that wants to grow and succeed in both short and long terms. We live in a time when the rate of change is such that today's unique product or service becomes tomorrow's commodity. Winning, playing the game better than your competitors, and changing the game when necessary requires finding a new way to sustain organic revenue and profit growth and consistently improved margins."
Now, Joe's life changed when he read that. It all made sense to him, but he knew that his learning wasn't done yet. So he decided to enroll in a class called Business Innovation, taught by one of the creators of the site, Felix Pereiro.
Upon taking the class and using the site, Joe noticed that most of the innovations had been done by the students themselves, or at least the ideas were.
He noticed the first tool similar to one that he had seen on the Starbucks website. It's called My Starbucks Idea. Here users can post suggestions and ideas that other users can vote on the best ones, making a very engaging community.
He also noticed that there was a social integration with cross-integration of other social websites like Facebook, Xanga, MySpace, and LinkedIn.
He also realized that he could use his smartphone to make posts and see other posts. One of the more clever ideas we saw was a portion of the website dedicated to user-submitted and facilitator-approved research.
There was a chat feature similar to that of Gmail's chat. In fact, it may have even been driven by Google's technology.
And the last thing he noticed was a tool for mind mapping. Joel had never seen this before. It turns out it's a way where you can organize the way your mind works. Joe found it difficult to explain, but was relieved that there was a video that helped to describe it for him.
So Joe took the class and worked harder than he had ever had at anything before. He finished the semester and was impressed at how much he had grown. And then Joe went on to his first interview since being rejected so many times. And of course, innovation came up. This time, Joe was ready. When asked about innovation, Joe recommended that his interviewer pull up the INTER site. Joe had his own video in the top 5, and in fact, it was rated number 1, even above the Dynamic Minds presentation.
After viewing the video, the interviewer was floored and offered him a job on the spot. There's that.
Go ahead.
This story is an illustration of the possibilities of the INTER website and the eventual class for students. Once finished, we see all these options that can be implemented into it, these improvements. Once it's done, we think it's going to be a great little idea. I mean, right now, there's still a little...
There's a lot of bugs and glitches, yeah. But we think that focusing on the future and having a vision to what this can actually achieve is a more successful way to go, a more innovative way to be. Thank you.